If you are wishing that you had more shows on the calendar and you are wishing that, you could just look at your calendar and I'm not going to say feel content or get complacent with what's there because obviously we know that we want to keep doing that. We need to keep rolling. Okay. We need to keep scheduling as much as we're able to schedule because you never know with reschedules, cancellations, that kind of thing. Those things are always going to happen. So you want to make sure that you are accounting for that. Okay. But here's the thing. I know for myself, I never thought that there would come a point in time where I would look at my calendar and see 40 plus shows on the calendar for the upcoming year. I never anticipated that, and I can tell you that's not a me thing as much as that is a God thing, okay? Because it is all Him. But here's what I can tell you. Between now and next October, we currently have 42 jewelry shows on our calendar. Now, y'all, these are jewelry shows. These are not vendor events. These are not personal shows. These are not renewal shows. These are actual jewelry shows scheduled by other hostesses. Okay. That is not a place that I ever thought that I would find myself. I am so thankful and so blessed that we have that, but it really like blew my mind because I'm going, and then everybody who I've shared that with, they're going, so how'd you do it? How'd you do it? What's your secret? What's your secret? What are you doing? What are you doing that's getting people booking? Okay. So here's what I can share with you. Okay. First off, I put in the efforts and I put it in God's hands. Okay. So that's first and foremost. So every show that we go to, we say a little prayer that whoever's meant to be there, that God allows to be there, that He uses us as a way to bring across what we need to, that He provides us with the words necessary to bring forth His plan, and that if He, desires for us to be a part of this group for longer than just tonight, then we are going to be so bold as to ask Him to provide us with bookings from that show. And if not, then that's okay. If we leave a show and we don't get any bookings, we know that God's just done with us in that spot, okay, for that time being. All right, but here's the other thing. The other thing is making sure that your show is fun, making sure that you are building relationships with people at those shows. And you'll have heard this time and time and time again, right? I mean, especially those of us in Premier, you've heard this. Build those relationships with people. And as you build those relationships with people, they will be more inclined to invite you into their home the more that they feel comfortable with you. Okay. And if you are providing them with useful content and you're providing them with valuable information, they're going to want to share that information with their friends. And if they had a great time at the show they came to, they're going to want their friends to have the chance to experience that as well. So, of course, making sure that your shows are fun, interactive, educational, and all that kind of good stuff. You want to leave, from each show feeling like you have provided them with the best service you could possibly give them. Okay. But the other thing is, if y'all are not already doing this, rebook your hostess. Okay. Because here's the thing. If you did, we'll just say if you did 12 shows this year. Well, if you're rebooking your hostess, then you should already have 12 shows on your calendar for next year. If you did 30 shows this year and you are rebooking those hostesses, you could potentially have 30 shows already on your calendar for the next year. All right. Now, here's what I'll tell you. Not every single hostess rebooks right away because sometimes you will get this. Sometimes you will get, well, I already had 3 people say that they'll book, so I'll wait and be a booking at one of so-and-so shows when I go to their show and that kind of thing. So occasionally you'll have hostesses that are going, well, I'll wait until their show and then I'll be one of their bookings to make sure that they can get credit. Okay. So occasionally you'll have that. But in many situations, I have hostesses rebooking a show with me when they're closing their show out. Okay. And sometimes even before that, because part of it comes down to that tic-tac-toe sheet that many of you know that I've been using. Part of it comes down to that because that's another way for them to mark a square off of their tic-tac-toe sheet is for them to schedule their next jewelry show anytime within the next year. All right. So in doing that, that does help. But some of them, they're booking, rebooking after we've already closed them out. So it's not even a point of them attempting to get more free jewelry through the tic-tac-toe sheet because they might not have done anything else with that sheet. But because they had a very good time and it looks like it happened, we are going to be taking a look. We did get a new router, but we just realized that even though we have 3 different bands to choose from, it looks like all of our devices are still currently running off just one and currently running on just that 2.4 gigahertz instead of the 5 gigahertz, which is what it was supposed to be doing. So I tried to solve the internet connection issues, by us getting the new router, but evidently we didn't assign them properly. So I'll get that figured out today, and hopefully we won't have to worry about this again, right? Because that dropping stuff, I don't like that. So anyway, so as I was sharing, is the biggest, one of the biggest things that you can make sure to do is making sure that you are rebooking those hostesses. So you want to make sure that not only are they having a great time, but you also want to make sure that they are getting as much free jewelry as they can, that they truly feel like you partnered with them to try and help this be a successful show for them, and not that you just simply showed up the day of and kind of left and whatever she did before or after was totally up to her. Does that make sense? So I think as you are doing that, as you're building that relationship with her, as you're building that relationship with her friends, she's going to feel more and more comfortable to be willing to invite you to her home again in the next year. But also just kind of putting out there that, she's going to want to get new jewelry. And the great thing is that every 6 months we have new jewelry. Okay. Now, if your business is not jewelry, if your business is not Premier Designs, then you might want to look at how often your catalog changes or how often new products are brought out and that sort of thing. And you want to make sure they know when those times are. So maybe they're doing a show for you now in October, but you have another new line that's going to come out in January and then maybe again in July or something like that, to be able to share, look, we have new products that are going to come out in January as well as in July. So really, any time that you would like to schedule a show within the next year is going to be a good thing because you're going to get to choose from new items that you didn't have an opportunity to shop from this time. Okay, so even doing things like that and just making sure to show them the value in having you back again, as well as making them feel comfortable and confident in doing that because you would have, done your best to be able to serve them well. So I'm sorry that we got cut off. On the plus side, I did record this for YouTube, so I will be getting this uploaded. So just in case you'd like to share it with anybody else and you don't want to have to try sharing 2 different portions with them, then you can go to my YouTube channel and be able to get this recording a little bit later today. It takes a little bit of time to upload from my computer because of the way it saves and all that kind of good stuff, but it will be up there. So does anybody have any questions before I let y'all go? Okay, so yes, Heather, we will absolutely pray for that. You got it. You got it. Anybody have any questions? Any questions about what we shared? Just in case. I give just a second here. Yes, we will absolutely be praying. Thank you for those hearts, by the way. Okay. All right. Well, it doesn't look like we have any questions. Now, I do have a quick question for you all. Thank you. Did you find this to be helpful? Was this something that made you um, understand that there might be some areas where you could look at? Thanks for that, Heather. And yes, we will be praying. I can't even imagine. Thankfully, I've never had to deal with that. Yeah, yeah. Listen. It's one of the um, biggest things that, and I don't know why so many times we fail to think about that, but I have got myself in the habit of making sure that the hostess knows, especially well, for one, she already knows leading up to her show because she would have had that tic-tac-toe sheet that lets her know that if she schedules another show with me to be held anytime within the next year, she's going to get to X mark that off. Okay. But the other thing to that is also that during the show, when I'm doing the deal or no deal game, I make it a point to make sure she knows that she can be a rebook from herself. So that if, that she can count as one of her three people that if she would like to rebook, then she's going to have the opportunity to be able to not only take home that purse and be able to get whatever goodie is in there at her next show, but also that she's going to be able to be one of the three that can help her get an extra $50 free. So in doing that, many times they will be one of the first ones to put their hand up because they've already enjoyed the process. They've already, understood what it is that they're getting. They already know that they're going to be spoiled. So when I'm going around and I say, now ladies, as we're getting ready to play this game, don't forget, and I look at the hostess, don't forget, you can be one of your future shows to be scheduled anytime within the next year to be able to reinstate those hostess benefits. And the hostess benefits I'm referring to are the purchase that she gets 20% off for every purchase that she does over the next year and a 50% off item the month of her birthday. So those benefits last for one full year. So I always let them know they can go one full year out so that they can reinstate those benefits and make sure that she always has 20% off every single order that she places with me simply by rescheduling or by scheduling another show. Okay. So many times they were one of the first ones to pop their hand up. And then here's the thing, because I do it as like a 1, 2, 3 count off, when I tell them, I don't go around to each individual person and say, would you like to deal? Would you like to deal? Would you like to deal? Because noitis is contagious. So if you have the first couple of people that say no deal, you can bet the remainder of the room is going to be no deal. That's just, nobody wants to be the first one to say yes. No one wants to be the first one to say deal. And I will tell you that I have had, in many situations, I have had where everyone said no deal during the actual deal or no deal game, but then we still left with at least 3 bookings, if not more. Okay? Because what happens is we make it a point to talk to them at checkout and say, so were you able to get everything that you wanted today? No. Oh, well, girl, tell me, why aren't we doing a show for you? Have you thought about doing a show to get yourself some free jewelry? And when we ask that, then many times they're going, well, I did think about it. I can't do it right now. Okay, well, tell me when you were thinking you might be able to. And the funny thing is, I've had a lot of ladies who will say, well, it's just I can't do anything until after the first of the year. And I'm going, are you that's okay. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to need shows next year as well. So that's okay. Let's take a look at the calendar. And I'm able to go ahead and get her on the calendar. For some, it's because they go, well, I'd really like to, and I know that I have people who will purchase, but I don't know that I have a lot of people who would come. And I'm like, no problem. Do you think you could collect at least $100 worth of orders and then bring just one guest to be able to close out with you and I on, on a specific day? And they're going, yeah, I could get at least one friend there. Okay, great. Well, let's do that. And then we can go ahead and get you some free jewelry. Okay, so sometimes it's just a matter of during the deal or no deal game, they might just have objections that they don't quite yet know whether or not you're going to be able to overcome. So it's a matter of making sure that you're also talking to them at checkout. That's going to be a huge help to you as well. So you want to kind of put those two together and combine those. Okay. And in doing that and rebooking your hostess, and in doing that, it's going to be a huge help. I missed part of that. I missed part of that. Oh, Tracy, could you put that back in for me? I'm sorry, I was trying to read it, but do you use a different checkout location? Okay, so I do try to. I try to have a specific spot with my little bag and everything else. Sometimes that's not always helpful. Sometimes it's not always doable, just depending on where we're kind of at. But either way, I make it a point to talk to them away from others as much as possible because sometimes they might want to book a show, but maybe there is someone there who once asked them to do a show and they didn't do a show for that person, so they don't want them to see that they're going to do a show for you. Okay, so sometimes it's things like that. They might have, it could be, who knows? It could be whatever reason. They don't want those people at that particular show to know that they're thinking about doing a show. It's weird, but it happens sometimes. So I do always try to talk to them kind of off to the side in private, where they can talk to me a little bit more about their objections, or that they can let me know if they actually do want to do a show. And it's funny because that's also one of the reasons why I always tell them during the game, hang on to those purses, because we as women like to change our minds. And in fact, we probably do it about 1,000 times a day. So I'm going to ask you ladies to just hang on to those purses, and we're going to talk a little bit later. And then they come to me with their purse toward checkout. Your grandma in Premiere is a 9 diamond, and she asked me, why do I watch you when you are a 2 diamond? Well, here's what I'll say. She's probably she might be a 7 diamond. She might be a 7 diamond because there is no such thing as a 9 diamond in Premiere. So if she is a diamond designer, then she might be 7. 7 is the highest before it starts going into executive director. So, yeah, so she might be 7, but here's the thing. For some, some people have that mentality. Some people have that mentality. They think, that you have to be at a certain level in order to be able to offer some sort of advice. But I can promise you that I have come across a lot of ladies who are brand new baby jewelers that I take advice from. Okay. Listen, you don't have to be a certain level to have good advice to be able to share. So I will just say that if you are still here hanging out and listening, I totally appreciate that. I appreciate that, Tracy. I do. I really do. So I'm going to leave that right there because I will not speak ill of anyone. Um, yes. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And here's the thing. I'm simply sharing what I have come across. Okay. And I did kind of have to learn the hard way in a sense because I did a lot of trial and error the first couple of years in Premiere. And, it was a lot of, well, let me try this and see if that works. Okay. No. So here's what I'll tell you. If you have not been in for at least 4 or 5 years, then you need to just stick with it because it might take you that long to find exactly what works for you. Thank you so much for that, Tracy. You are so sweet, and I so appreciate that. So you want to make sure that you're sticking it out because if you've only been in for a year or two and you're going, I'm not so sure that this works well. You are also very sweet, you guys. I love you guys. So anyway, I keep saying because I'm getting thrown off here. Love y'all. So you want to make sure though that you are giving yourself enough time in your business to truly learn what works for you, because what works well for one person might not work well for the other. You're too sweet. Uh, so you want to make sure that you're doing that. Give yourself that time. Okay. It took me, I can tell you, it took me a good 4 or 5 years before I felt like I really kind of started finding my groove a little bit. And as I did that, there were certain things that I just knew, okay, this works well for me. This not so much. So I went through a lot of trial and error of, and I will also say, make sure that anything that you're trying new, that you try it at least 6 times at 6 different shows, because what works well at one show might not go over well at the next, because you're going to have very different crowds of people. You're going to have different types of people at each show, different personalities, different backgrounds, whatever. Okay. So what works very well at one show might not work so well at the next. But if you do it at least 6 times, that's going to give you an indication. If you do 6 shows, so as an example, I at one point, this whole chance and honor game thing and the dice game, okay, I tried doing those things because I thought, you know what, let me do a different game other than Deal or No Deal and just see. Let me just see what happens. Well, each of those I tried 6 times. With each of those, I was lucky to have at least one person, because even in doing that chance and honor game, when I tried doing the chance and honor game, that didn't work well for me because there were a number of people who would get to, the let's party. And then when I would talk to them at checkout, they're going, yeah, I don't think I want to, I can't commit. I can't commit to doing that. I'm not going to do a show. Thanks anyway though. It was like, oh my goodness. So the chance and honor game and the roll the dice game did not work well for me, because what was happening is it seemed like it was the people who didn't want to do shows that were getting the do a show kind of thing. And they're like, nah. And the other ones, were just not, it just was not working for me. And I tried each one of them 6 times. Okay. So here's what that means. I did 12 shows of at a maximum getting 1 show per show. And after doing that, trying that 6 times and it didn't work, and trying it 6 more times and I still wasn't getting 3 bookings on average, I'm like, that's it. I'm done. I'm going back to Deal or No Deal. So I went back to Deal or No Deal, and we went back up to an average of 3 shows per show. So, but for some other people, the Deal or No Deal doesn't work. So you have to find what works well for you. And that's why you train with other people as well. That's why you talk to other people, because here's the thing. My girls are trained on Deal or No Deal. But that doesn't mean that that's what's going to work the best for them. So they might need to hear from somebody else who does something different. Okay. And so that's why we do that. That's why we do that. And here's the other thing, that I will say, Tracy, and here's one thing that I would say. If you've not already done so, and listen, I'm not one who thinks that, we should be calling people out or whatever, but I will say, that I would encourage you to go to the highest level of upline that you are comfortable going to, or to contact Premier directly and say, I'm really kind of put off by some of the things that are happening here, because if they're not doing it the Premier way, if they're not training you the Premier way, it is important for Premier to know that there is an issue in that level of leadership, that is not assisting their people in the best way that they can. So it could also be that those leaders don't necessarily know any other way, because if they were taught that by their upline and now they're simply teaching it to you, Do you see what I'm saying? Like, so it's helpful if there's anybody in that those three levels of upline or higher, that you can do that. So yes, yeah, yeah. It's important for them to know that, because I know Premier wants to make sure that things are being taken care of the Premier way, and they want to make sure that everyone is being well taken care of. So have no doubt that Premier will do whatever they can to make it right. So, all right. Well, unless anybody has any questions, I'm gonna let y'all scooch. Tomorrow is our Wisdom Wednesday. Yeah. See, so you did Chance and Honor on Sunday. You got 3 bookings. That is awesome, Rachel. That is awesome. I gotta tell you, I and listen, I applaud that, because I know that I totally, that just did not work for me. It just didn't. So I love that did that for you. Where do you find what? The Chance and Honor game? Is that what you're referring to? That's awesome, Rachel. Okay, not a problem. Not a problem. So yeah, so if you go, my guess is if you go, are you a part of the Premier Designs Jewelers Only group on Facebook that has like 8 or 9,000 members? Are you a part of that group? Okay, so if you go on there, and what you're gonna do, let me pull this up here for you so I can show you. Okay, so here's what you're gonna do. You're gonna go to, oh, you found it on YouTube? Awesome. I was gonna say you can find it on YouTube. You can also find it on the Premier Designs Jewelers Only group. They have some different verbiage and things like that there, but you would just go to that Facebook group, go up to the little top search bar within that group, and it'll say like search this group, okay, and you would just put in Chance and Honor or whatever, and hit enter, and it'll pull up every post that has ever talked about that. So it does have that little function on there to try and help you locate those things easily. And if there was a file uploaded or things like that, it'll also show you that. Okay. All right. Okay. Well, tomorrow is our Wisdom Wednesday, so I will be back to share some little nugget of wisdom that was shared with me at some point in time. Thank you. Thank you all. What I don't know, Rachel, I don't know if the Buffy's Toolbox group, I don't know that that is open to other people being able to post. So I don't know that that's there for that. However, if you want to send it to me via Facebook private message, then I can upload it for you and tag you in it and give you the credit for the document and all that kind of good stuff, so that if anybody has any questions, they could contact you. Okay. All right. Perfect. So I look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow. Remember, we are here Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. Eastern Time. So tomorrow we will be back for our Wisdom Wednesday, where I just get a chance to share a little bit of something with you. And in the meantime, just know that I will be saying prayers and blessings over each one of you. And I pray that you guys have a fabulous day. Look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.